So you may not know this, but recently I went through this major life change where I upended my life after living for such a long time in one place and moved like 3,000 miles for a guy. So crazy times, right? And whenever we have a big transition like this, like the world falls apart a little bit. So even if it's for the greatest reason, love or a new adventure, a new possibility, we lose our ground, we lose our footing. And this reminds me, the last time I made a big change like this was back when I moved to Vancouver to be with my husband. And at the time, my life actually completely fell apart. He was an alcoholic who started drinking again. So suddenly I was in this new country, a new job, new home, no friends, absent husband, and I didn't know who I was anymore. And so maybe you've experienced this too, where you've had to change jobs, change relationships, start a relationship, change cities. It's like we can start to lose the sense of who we are and we go, I can't anchor myself to something. I'm shaky and everything feels so uncertain. And at these times in my life, I'm so keenly reminded of one of my favorite quotes from Pema Chodron, who's a Buddhist nun. And she says, "Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible in us be found." Okay, let me repeat that. Only to the extent that we expose ourselves, like there's a choice here, we choose to expose ourselves to annihilation, can that which is indestructible in us be found. Because here's the thing, usually we're so busy attaching our sense of self-worth to stuff that's outside of us. So, to my job, to my community, even if they're wonderful, even to being a yoga teacher, to these labels that we give ourselves, to where I live, to being a Vancouverite or a New Yorker, to how I am at my job, all these things that are external. And when those get pulled away and the bottom falls out from underneath us, we can't hold on to those things anymore. And when that happens, we have the rare opportunity to sit in ourselves and realize that there is something else within us that is indestructible. But usually we're so busy holding on to and grasping for all of these things that we can't find that. So in this moment, transition, uncertainty, chaos is actually extremely good news. Because when that happens, we pause and we discover that within us, it's like the bottom drops out and we realize there's another floor. There's something else that supports us, that is unchanging, that doesn't go away, where we are whole and complete and safe exactly as we are. And in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali says, yoga is the restraint of the fluctuations of the mind, like all the stories we tell ourselves. He says, because when you can restrain the fluctuations of the mind, all that nonsense, all that storytelling, then you experience who you really are. Otherwise, you think you're all the stuff in your head. And so when things are pulled out, suddenly it becomes very clear that there's something within us which is eternal and whole and loving and wonderful. So, my friends, the invitation is, when the bottom drops out of your life in some way, like for me, moving across the country, starting a new adventure, changing jobs, changing cities, losing a loved one, gaining new love in your life, and it sets us kind of into this craziness to sit with ourselves and remember that when we expose ourselves to annihilation, we can actually find something which is pure and free. That's the thought for now. Namaste.